welcome to the Crown Court. Today, you will be asked to deliver your verdict on whether or not blockchain is overhyped. I am the judge, and it is my job to interpret and uphold the law. Before we begin the proceedings, I'm going to request that you all rise. All rise, please. I said all rise back there. If you believe blockchain is overhyped, please sit down now. Thank you. You may all sit down. Now, members of the jury, your role will be to assess the evidence, decide the relevant facts, and in due course, deliver your verdict. I'm now going to ask the prosecution counsel to open this case to you. You have 5 minutes, and you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Esteemed members of the jury, thank you for joining us today. I will be arguing on the side that blockchain is indeed overhyped and that it has been an egregious offense upon our noble industry of insurance. I will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that blockchain is guilty of overhype, and as you can see, it is 3 against 1, so obviously they need a larger defense than the prosecution, so I think I'm already one up on them. So I'll keep going then. I want you to remember one thing. I don't need to prove that blockchain has use cases in insurance. I don't need to prove usefulness or uselessness. I just need to prove the blockchain is overhyped. You can believe that blockchain has a place in insurance in the future, but the fact that the markets are overheated is agnostic of that fact. So, as I will begin with my opening argument. In order to implement a blockchain, you must have mass cooperation between those players of that blockchain system, right? So if I have a company and I would like to implement blockchain, I must find at least 2 or 3 other people so that I can implement this blockchain system, right? What does that do? That is quite tough, isn't it? How many people have had a tech implementation in their company? Yeah? How many people of those people went totally smoothly? No hiccups whatsoever. All right, that's what I thought. Oh, this guy, all right. I'll talk to you later. It's really interesting. So even out of having a tech implementation of one company, there are hiccups. Imagine having 3 or 4 different companies all coming together, implementing the same software at the same time. That's what we're talking about here. My lovely opponents will use fancy words like innovation and use sleight of hand to try to brush some things under the rug. But actually, when you look down at the implementation of blockchain, it isn't very good, and it does not equal, it is very almost anti-competitive, right? What's going to happen is the people that can afford to implement blockchains are the people that will. So you'll have the haves and the have-nots. The people that have, maybe we'll talk, a small independent broker, they might not be able to join these big blockchain consortiums that are now arising, so they might get left out. What we're seeing with the M&A market, with Marsh buying JLT, we're seeing a massive consolidation in the marketplace. Now, do we want that? I don't know. We're losing the flavor of independent brokers and independent insurance intermediaries, and I think blockchain will spur that on. The other thing that's really interesting is that people don't really realize that blockchain wasn't invented in 2008 when Bitcoin came on the scene. When you maybe go to some of these blockchain presentations, you may see that people will point to 2008 as the time that blockchain came on the scene. No, that is not accurate. What Satoshi Nakamoto did in 2008 with his white paper on Bitcoin was merely use cryptographic ledgers and incentivize people running those ledgers through Bitcoin. That's all Bitcoin is. It is an incentive mechanism. Now, when you take Bitcoin out, you have a cryptographic ledger that has no incentive of running it other than consortiums that are formed with those incentives, whatever those consortiums want to do with them. What you do when you take Bitcoin out is you reintroduce counterparty risk. What happened in 2008? A whole load of Wall Street banks blew our financial system up. Why? Because they didn't understand the aggregate of counterparty risk. What does Bitcoin do? It actually removes counterparty risk because you can actually see in each other's addresses exactly how much money or how much Bitcoin they have.
You have 1 minute, Prosecutor.
Thank you, sir. I shall continue. You remove counterparty risk with Bitcoin, and then you put it right back in there when you remove Bitcoin from the equation. So actually, what happens is your tech is dependent on third parties running. Okay? So what happens if we have another 2008? Hopefully not. But if we have another 2008 where there's bankruptcies happening, what happens in a consortium when a couple of your companies that you're in the consortium with go bankrupt? What happens with the tech? Are you going to rely on your system's efficiency and efficacy on a third party? I sincerely hope not. Thank you.
Order in the court. I'm now going to ask the defense counsel to present their opening statements. You have 5 minutes. You may proceed.
Thank you, my lord. And first of all, may I please forgive my rather exuberant colleague from across the pond because he knows not the ancient ways and traditions of our court. I will deal with some of the more egregious remarks in your somewhat rambling and unsubstantiated opening in my closing. But first, my lord and ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is not a question of blockchain is hype. This is a case of Rome is burning. I ask you to consider the state of the market today. Performance is down, and I'm sure you all know remediation plans are underway across the square mile. Everybody is looking for new ways to innovate and to do things better. Decisive leadership and action is required. Action is being taken now to keep us fit for the future. Now ask yourselves the following questions. Can we make it smarter and easier for us to do business? Can we allow for greater transparency and trust in data and how we transact? Can the insurance industry respond in more innovative ways to develop client propositions that help them manage their risk portfolios? It is our case, my lord and members of our esteemed jury, that a new set of technologies is redefining the way we transact, how we share data across a network that allows us to answer these questions. And if that sounds incredibly far-reaching, that's because it is. Blockchain is not hype. Blockchain is real, and it is now. As our fact witness, Mr. Hennenberg, who's very graciously flown all the way from Copenhagen to testify today, will say, it is live in production in his organization at this very moment in time. Now let us consider the state of the marine market, which is the test case before us today. $30 billion market. The availability of timely, accurate, and trusted data is at the heart of the challenges that the mariners face in our market today. Asset attributes regularly change during a contract period. For example, war breaches, sales, re-evaluations. The processes through which we transact and how we do business are very cumbersome and manual. There are very high levels of reconciliation and limited transparency. Claims and reinsurance execution, recovery execution is very slow. So if we think about the case of our esteemed fact witness here today with over 1,200 ships being managed, and if we think of 50 to 100,000 cargo clients moving goods from A to B at any one time, it is almost inconceivable to think that this is sustainable for the future. What blockchain and other emergent technologies do is to enable us to trade across a network, share data, and to automate our processes to make us more profitable and more efficient for the future. You will hear from our expert witness today on the trust enabled by the blockchain. And finally, let us not forget the client benefit, which we will deal with in great detail with Mr. Hennenberg. Taking out administration to spend more time on risk management must be what we're here for. Capturing far richer exposure data that enables us to price risk for a price that's fair for the client is something we should all be aiming for.
You have 1 minute, Defense Counsel.
So to conclude, my lord and members of the jury, it is our case, and we will prove it today, that blockchain is not hype. It is real, it is now, and it is being used in anger today to process insurance and reinsurance transactions. Thank you, my lord.
Before we continue, I'm going to request that you all rise, please. Also upstairs. Now that you've heard the opening statements by the prosecution and the defense counsel, I'm going to ask you to please sit down if you believe that blockchain is not overhyped. So in layman terms, if you believe it's hype, stay standing up.
Yes. Get in there.
Thank you. You may now all sit down. I now would like to call to stand the expert witness. Please introduce yourself to the court.
Thank you, sir. First things first, there are no experts. However, I am Elliot Callender, and I do run a blockchain education company. So through this mechanism, I hopefully build up your knowledge and understanding, and I will change the naysayers into believers in this next course of the session. Who here has received a quote from an insurance company that looks a little bit like this? I see a few faces. Okay, many faces. In fact, some of you look like you would be happy to receive a quote that looks like this. However, I don't. I received a quote from an insurance company, in fact, several insurance companies, when I went online looking for business insurance. And about a month later, I received a quote from an insurance company in the form of a 10-page letter that is now strewn across the floor. And this not only showed me that they were slightly out of touch, it also did not instill the deep level of trust that I look for in an insurance partner in a time of need. However, a combination of technologies is redefining this trust. Human evolution has built on the intelligence of others, and we have had to trust that intelligence. We've transitioned from fire to agriculture, then to societies, and then we transitioned to manufacturing. And we've now transitioned to packaging up the computational power of computers. And effectively, what you can see is we are trying to manufacture our brains. Now, what does this look like? We use computers on a daily basis. You use computers every day. They use hard drives to store the information that you need to access. They also use cables to send the information back and forth between the pieces of technology. And then we also use Wi-Fi routers to access the internet, which allows us to send information to one another. However, you may notice that something fundamental is missing from that toolbox, and that is trust. Trust is missing from that toolbox, and a combination of technologies is redefining trust. We rely on so many technologies these days. Our toolbox of technologies has never been greater. Where is my next meal coming from? I might go on Deliveroo. That's still technology. How do I get from A to B? Who holds up an A3 map these days? Put your hand up. I see no one. You all look to technology. And how you get to know the lovely person beside you? You might look to technology to swipe left or right on that as well. But it's still technology. We rely on technology for fundamental decisions. And the internet has shown us the power of communication of information, which is fantastic. However, we are now transitioning to the communication of value. And you might be sitting there wondering what the hell that means. Well, it's three things. It boils down to, one, behaviors. how am I going to behave now? And you want to trust how I'm going to behave in the future as well. Transparency. You want the transparency and visibility of the information and decisions that are being made for your life. And third is trust, and everything comes back to trust. The insurance industry is underpinned by trust, and it's an intrinsic part of our lives. And a combination of technologies that have been created over the centuries, very similar to what you are sitting on right now with the metal, the plastic, and the wood. A combination of technologies is redefining that trust. Just like when you receive a group text message on WhatsApp or any of your other favorite messaging apps, you want to understand and trust the source of that information. You want to trust and understand the validity of that information, but moreover, you want to trust that the information is always going to be available and that it's never going to change. And a combination of technologies, Madame, is redefining this trust. Now, we rely on technologies and outsource our decisions every day to technology, right? We outsource decisions, we automate our decisions, and it's all part of the human evolution. Your customers want trust. They want to trust that you understand their needs, their wants, and their desires. Help them trust you more by showing them that you understand them in ways that they didn't even understand they needed to be understood. It's your time to redefine trust. Are you going to sit at the sidelines and watch people redefine trust before your eyes? Or are you going to get into the hot seat and redefine trust today? Thank you.
Thank you, Madame.
You're welcome.
I now would like to call to the stand the fact witness. Please introduce yourself to the court.
You can ask me the questions.
Yes.
Yes, I am Lars Henneberg, and I'm a believer. But on top of that, being a risk manager at a major shipping company in Copenhagen, on top of that, I'm also, so to say, the administrator of a real-world case, of use case of blockchain. So I have seen it working in reality, in tangible words, and I can assure you it is not hyped. The council is going to ask me some questions, and I will do my best to answer.
Thank you indeed, Mr. Henneberg, and thank you very much indeed for rowing across on your long boat to be with us today. It is much appreciated. Mr. Henneberg, there are three high-level themes to our discussion. The first being, will blockchain revolutionize our industry, and in fact, is it? How is its potential realized, and what is the real value to the client? And some would say that would be the most important question to ask. Can you explain more about Maersk's focus with blockchain and your high-level perspective on this point of view that in an ever-increasingly complex world, large organizations will use blockchain to help them transact?
I certainly can. I think digitization has been on the agenda for shipping companies for some time, and it's definitely a priority for Maersk to digitize our very complex business processes, and insurance is one of them. We do believe that insurers are not easy to do business with. The processes they use are cumbersome, and they are very manual. Every time we insure a vessel, we have to deal with up to 50 different parties in the market. And we have on an annual basis up to 100 document transactions. That ties up a lot of resources. As a risk manager with my team, I spend 75% of my time on insurance contract administration and only 25% on managing the risk. I really want that to be the other way around. So if we could automate and streamline the processes, it will free up insurances for us. And it's all about the customer experience. Get us some automated processes, get us some faster insurance services, and get us some tailored insurance services that do it so we can turn up and down for capital. So, and the insurance industry should ask itself, is our complexity our customer's problem? No, it can't be like that.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Henneberg, and may I say, very eloquently said. Mr. Hennenberg, you have famously said that the distance between risk and capital is too far and there's too much friction in the insurance value chain. Now, you've gone some way to explain what you mean by that, but would you like to
I can elaborate
more?
a little bit of that. As I said, the way that we transfer risk to the insurance market today is very cumbersome. I mean, it's a value chain which is very transactional and very manual. We basically have an asset that comes to the risk management department, that goes to a broker, that goes to an insurer, that goes to a broker, that goes to a reinsurer, that goes to another broker, and then goes to a retrocession insurer. This is the distance between risk and capital you can see. And in addition, there's lack of transparency in that value chain. We will have a lot of stuff getting lost in translation from slips wandering between the different parties. We will have different political agendas in there. The brokers have their own agenda, and we will lose leak value because we will have to pay all these intermediaries. So this whole system is prone to error, and no wonder why, because you basically had the same business model for 300 years, since Lloyd's was a coffee house in 1688.
I object, that was me.
That's right, that's right. So we still have the broker turning up at the wooden box and gets a stamp and gets a line there and moves on to the next box until he has to fire 100%. It's antiquated, it's inefficient, it's costly, it causes dissatisfaction with the customers, and it's dysfunctional. And if you combine all that together, you have something which is prone to disruption.
Thank you very much indeed. So moving on from that, do you see parts of the value chain disappearing with the implementation of this technology?
Well, I certainly see new business models arising because most of, for instance, what the brokers are doing is going to be automated. I mean, placement transactions will be automated by blockchain. I think the administration will be automated by blockchain because policy documentation will be generated electronically. Invoices will be generated electronically on blockchain, and payment will be undertaken. But also for the insurers, underwriting will be automated. It will be an algorithm. It will not be a contract. And you can also say that claims handling in the future probably also will be automated. You just take your invoices, upload them, and the algorithm, the smart contract, will basically tell whether it's covered or not, and it will transfer payment to you within 5 seconds. So, and you will see new client models. You will not see clients buying individually. You will see clients buying on behalf of themselves and on behalf of their suppliers and on behalf of their customers, bundling the product together. And you will eventually see the big capital providers, like the big reinsurers with all the money, moving closer to the customer because they don't need the services of the broker. They don't need the services of the smaller fronting insurers or the underwriting skills because they will be automated.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. Now, with all this rich data that we're able to digitize and use to model and price risk, what is your view as to how the pricing of risk will change using technology such as this?
I think the fundamental shift that we see at the moment is the availability of data. If you, for instance, take our company, we have a lot of vessels. Nowadays, the vessels are connected to shore and vice versa. So we know everything about the vessels. What was previously unknowable is now known. We monitor every aspect of the operation. We monitor the container, we monitor the cargo, we monitor the hull, we monitor the engine, we monitor the locations of the vessel. And these are data that say something about the risk. And what does that mean for insurance? That really means that we can start rating the asset, the vessel, on the basis of actual behavior and not on some static demographic data that we declare at inception. We used to insure on the basis of value of the vessel, the tonnage of the vessel, the flag, the shipyard, and so on where it was built. It doesn't say anything about the risk. What says something about the risk, and that's what we can rate in the future, is where does the vessel trade, where does it move, how fast does it move, what cargo does it carry, is the engine well maintained, and is the crew behaving properly? These are things that we can all know now, real time. So with that, we can basically start making underwriting proactive by looking at how the vessel behaves. We can see when it starts behaving like a claim rather than using some old demographic data that are just standard models. So that gives me a chance as a risk manager to differentiate my risk, to get the best price by incentivizing my vessels to behave better. And it gives the underwriters a better opportunity to rate the risks more accurately based on the more data, more sophisticated data, so they do not need to err on the side of caution.
Very well made points indeed, if I may say so.
You may not say so. Thank you. That is not your job. Gosh.
Prosecution, you will be given a chance
Finally.
to cross-examine the fact witness in due course.
Thank you.
Crumbling in the heat.
And if I may add on to that, Mr. Hindenburg, you have also famously said that instead of pay as you go, it'll be pay as you sail. Now, moving on to look at how Maersk has successfully moved into a production-ready solution focused on the real-life use case of InsureWave. What, in your view, was critical about leading to an implementable solution for InsureWave? What were the pitfalls and what were the secrets of success?
I think that what does it take to be successful? That's really what you ask about. And I would say, first of all, it takes a strong customer pull. It takes a customer that tells its insurers, I want to have a better customer experience. And secondly, it takes a mindset which says speed before perfection. Do this in sprints. Try something, learn from it, and adjust. Fail fast before you have invested too much, because if you wait 5 years and then fail, you have lost all your investment. Then it takes what we call a minimum lovable product. As soon as you have something you believe the customer would want, try it. Don't lock yourself into a lab and try to build the perfect solution in a master plan for 5 years with a detailed process specification. When we did InsureWave, we had a direction, we had a vague idea of where we wanted to move, and I believe we are where we wanted to be, but the way we got there is very different from what we anticipated, because we took it like that. And then the last thing I would say is trust. Don't try to build a relationship based on contracts, rights and obligations and processes. Really, we just had a memorandum of understanding, and everyone had the right to raise their hand and say, I don't like that, I want to change that. And then build it, rather than based on rights and obligations, build it on trust. And then you need focus. Don't try to boil the ocean. Focus on one real world case. In this case, it was our hull program with our insurers, something which is concrete and specific. And then to make your vision real, you need to employ the specialists that can do that for you. But we did in 1 year what we have been waiting for 20 years.
I think that suggests that blockchain is not hype jury, but rather is a real-life application of it. Would you like to say anything more about the richness of the data that you are sharing across the blockchain platform in InsureWave, or do you think you've covered all of that?
I think we have covered, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Hindenburg, you've obviously worked very closely within Maersk and the board in particular to help them to understand, accept and introduce this type of technology. Can you tell us more about that and what some of the key learning points were for you?
I think we were obviously a pilot customer, and that means that we were not faced with a plug-and-play solution. We were co-creating it with our partners in this respect. And first of all, I would say, obviously, it hinges very much on your data sources. And don't believe your data sources are as well organized as you may imagine they are at the outset. They are a mess. You can rely on that. And it takes some time to clean it up before it works. Then also, you can't do this alone. You need to work with some internal stakeholders, IT in particular. And they are not in a mindset where they want to fail fast. They want to be 100% certain before they do something, in particular in a company where you had a large cyber attack last year. Then you need to have a bold business case. You will be asked by your bosses, what will we get out of this? What's in it for me? And I didn't have a clue, but I just really said, we will save a lot of money and we will save a lot of work, because I felt I was very certain about that. And I put my neck on the line for that. And then you need to deliver that very quickly. Come with some low-hanging fruit very early in the process, so that you make the value proposition visible. And we can make the fact that we can say, when our vessels now enter into a war zone, we can go to the captains, we can go to the operations department and say, you don't need to declare us any longer because blockchain will take care of that. They will simply be automatically notified and they will automatically generate the endorsements and the invoices for that. So you don't need to do all the manual work that's in between there. That was a very, very good thing to do. And then you need persistence, consistency, and insistence, because this is a project that will take several months, maybe years, before we are completely complete with this one. And what happens with such projects is that someone suddenly loses focus and interest. So you need really to be consistent. And when you then go to market with it beyond the pilot, you need to have something which is plug and play, because it's important to get stakeholders, to get other partners on there, because the value is not in the technology as such, it is in the network, the people that communicate, that are participants on this network.
And clearly the type of transformation we're talking about here isn't just about blockchain, it's about the application of other emergent technologies such as IoT data and geofence data. And you've described some of that with what you said about walrus declarations. Do you want to say more about that and the opportunities that they present and the problems they solve for you?
To work with other technologies or?
Yes, to overlay other technologies with blockchain, like?
Yeah, I think blockchain is all about sharing data. And it allows us to handle and manage those data, the data richness in our processes, so we can make our underwriting processes more richer with data. We can make our claims handling processes richer with data. We can make our risk management process more proactive, richer with data. That's what it's all about. But you need to have the data from somewhere. You need to be connected to the data sources. And that's where blockchain plays very well together with IoT, Internet of Things. They play with all the sensors that are sitting on our containers measuring the temperature of the cargo, with all the sensors that are sitting on our engines to measure the temperature and to measure the maintenance state of the engines, with all the GPSs that are sitting on our vessels telling us where the vessels are, whether they're trading among icebergs or whether they're trading in Mediterranean, and with operational technology all together. So we get so much data by working with blockchain together with other technologies. And I can tell you that when we started, before we started using blockchain, we used 7 data points for underwriting. Now we use 25. And the ambition is that we will take it far beyond 50 to get to real-time underwriting.
Food for thought indeed, Mr. Henneberg, and I guess it answers the question of, is blockchain hype being an absolute no, in your opinion?
Objection, leading the witness.
Mr. Henneberg, in closing, what would you say to those who are hesitant about the real value of this technology, and why is it important for clients that the industry gets on board with this?
I would say the insurance industry should realize that it's an industry that has customers, and this is all about the customer experience. Blockchain gives us better services. It automates the manual processes we have. It makes it faster. Operations won't have to wait for insurance because all the parties in the value chain of blockchain transact simultaneously based on the same original data. And it also makes it tailored. We can turn up and down for the capital we need, depending on whether the cargo we say is high value or low value. We can do that real time. It also gives us lower cost because we take out all the transaction cost of the value chain, and insurers can deploy the capital more accurately. They don't have to err on the side of caution, so it will also reduce the cost of capital. It allows us to do proactive risk management. We can see when the vessel starts behaving like a claim. We don't have to wait for a claim to hit the policy and then adjust the policy 1 year after at the next renewal. We can correct at the moment. We can do group buying for all our customers and for all our suppliers, trying to leverage our volume and our diversity. So, and eventually, I think we are doing what we call in the trade world, something we call global trade digitization. And in that end, we want to bundle all the products that our customers need to do shipping, and insurance is one of them. Insurers can become an integrated part of our product offering. And I think that's the great. So what will happen if you're not in blockchain is that those who develop blockchain, insurers, and who take it forward on a scalable basis, they will come with something to the customer that is so compelling that the customers will simply jump on, and they will grow exponentially, leaving everyone else behind. Can you imagine a world without mobile banking? Can you imagine a world without mobile pay? This is how insurance is going to be for private clients and for large customers.
Hear,
so
hear.
come on board and help us to fuel this revolution.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Hindenburg. And thank you, my Lord, for your indulgence.
I now would like to call on the prosecution to cross-examine the witness.
Thank you. I think I've been patient enough here. Your Honor, I would like to stand over here as Mr. Maersk is double my size. My slight Canadian frame cannot handle a Danish beating, so I'm going to stand over here. Oh, imagine a world of no payments. Imagine a world of no banks. Isn't it nice to imagine? Let's just imagine things. But actually, let's just talk about the brass tacks here. Okay, so implementing blockchain solutions. Let's talk about the cost for a second. So right now, as I understand it, you have a group of organizations that have supported this initiative, right? That you are partnered on this blockchain project with. What happens if one of those, let's say an insurer in that consortium, decides to change their underwriting guideline or just doesn't want to write marine anymore and wants to get out of that consortium? I'm guessing another insurer would have to step in to fill that position. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct, yes.
So would the next insurer have to pay the large sum of money to implement this technology as well?
I don't think we're talking about a large sum of money. As I said, what is being developed is a plug-and-play solution. There will be a license fee, but I think for insurers and for brokers, this is very scalable. This is something that you can have more clients on as soon as you're paying that one-time license.
So you're saying that if they have you as a customer, they can use that same technology with their own customers?
Yes, that's part of building the network.
Different types of business? Does it have to be marine?
It will, at the stance at the moment, it will have to be marine.
Okay.
But the way that we have built the Marine Hull program, or the Marine Hull platform, is built in a scalable way, such that you can easily, so to say, scale into other subclasses of marine and eventually also other classes like property, aviation, and energy.
Now, I listened to your InsureBlocks podcast. And you mentioned that one of the roles of what your system can do is give quotes and give different prices for cargo and different vessels that you have in your fleet. Is that correct?
It's a declaration facility. Once you have agreed the rate at the moment, it will give you the quotes based on that. Yes, agreed. But yeah.
So it's interesting though. I thought we already had quoting and rating engines in the industry. Why did you have to build one yourself? Isn't there another one that could easily have taken that position?
There probably is some that can do quoting as well, but they cannot do all the other things that comes behind that. I mean, the algorithm, it cannot do the automatic endorsement, it cannot do the automatic generation of documents, it cannot do the automatic invoicing, and it cannot do the real-time underwriting because it doesn't have access to the large amount of data that blockchain will be connected to via operational technology, Internet of Things, and so on.
So really, what we're talking about is we're trying to, or what blockchain is really trying to do, we've built up this culture, we've built up an industry on relationships, we've built up an entire marketplace on a handshake, right? Business is done by reputation. Now we're trying to throw all that away, all the work that we've done in order to get instant fast pricing and rating. Now, to my mind, if you had a claim and you submitted it to your insurer and your premium went up, Wouldn't you rather not wait until renewal where you just deal with it all the time? Is your premium's going to be fluctuating all the time. Do you really want that?
Our premium is not going to be fluctuating as a result of claims.
Well, that's a great underwriter.
But that would be part of their normal renewal process. But the premium will be fluctuating based on the risk, because it would be sail as you pay, or drive as, or pay as you drive, pay as you sail. I mean, why would a vessel that is sailing in very dangerous water have to pay the same rate as a vessel that is in a port, in a very safe port? This is what you can do, and you can have a much more sophisticated underwriting, and you can deploy and allocate it much more, the capital, much more accurately than previously, based on data that actually say something about the risk real time.
Prosecution rests, Your Honor. I would like to do my closing statement, but you can tell me to sit down and I'll get that.
Thank you. Fact witness, would you like to make any concluding statements? You may sit down. I now would like to call on the prosecution counsel to make their closing statements. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Your Royal Highness. I appreciate it. I remain unconvinced that this implementation cannot be done through other means. Do we really have to intermediate ourselves? Do we really have to try to give away our jobs to some tech? It takes away the whole personality. It goes against this insurance industry's core founding beliefs, which is part of the relationships. I have 35 points. I would like to say, do I have time for that, or do I have to shorten it down a little bit?
How fast can you talk?
No, I'm just kidding. Elliot said something very interesting. He said, he kept using the same word, trust. Trust redefined. Let's redefine trust. I'm a bit confused. Do we have a trust problem in the insurance industry? When you're a broker and you take your risk to the underwriter, do you not trust them? As an underwriter, when you have a broker bring a risk to you, do you trust them or not? If you don't trust them, why would you do business with them? We don't need a blockchain to solve trust.
Objection.
We are looking for a solution. Sorry, we're looking for a problem to get a solution, right? Blockchain is the hammer. Let's find a nail for this thing to nail, right? It's completely out of order. And actually, as I was saying in my opening statements, blockchain technology or cryptographic ledgers have been around already. But why aren't we hearing about this? No one's knocking on your doors and saying, hello, can I please sell you a cryptographic ledger? No, they will knock on your door and say, hi, can I sell you a blockchain? So why now, after all this time, are people now coming around and trying to sell blockchains? They're putting a shiny label on old tech, jacking the price up 5 times and saying, let's take your jobs and pay me a whole bunch of money for it.
Objection. Conjecture.
Not conjecture, truth. You can't handle the truth.
Order in the court, or I'll call the sergeant on arms.
We have not talked about the Oracle problem, garbage in, garbage out. Everyone talks about trust. Once information is on the blockchain, it is trust and it's totally confirmed. No. Data can still be corrupted, put onto a blockchain, and then on-chain events can happen. i.e., there have been a number of hacks on blockchains. Now, I myself am guilty. I will raise up my hand. I've done some blockchain education, and I use the word, it is unhackable. Ooh, no. Nothing online is unhackable. You would like to think it is unhackable, but nothing is unhackable. Now, and this is recently, a cryptocurrency named Bitcoin Gold got hacked, Verge got hacked, 51% attacks on their networks. This is blockchain technology that's supposed to be redefining trust. You still have to trust. You have to trust, if you're in a consortium, with all those parties in your consortium, you have to trust every single one of them. There still exists very real technology gaps that make blockchains just not very relatable. We aren't seeing really, other than very specific use cases, of them having any real world value. People like to just say, throwing blockchains at things. Oh, you have a problem there? Here's a blockchain, take it. There you go, blockchains for everyone. That's not how this works. We need rational thought, we need thought out use cases, we need some actual identifiable cost savings, and I have yet to see that. Now,
You have 1 minute.
Oh, thank you. We are in an age where just putting blockchain in your name jacks your price of your stock 394% in one day. This is what happened with Online PLC. Online PLC changed their name to Online Blockchain PLC. Their stock rose 394%. If that isn't hype, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what is. EOS, another cryptocurrency, they staged what's called an initial coin offering. Guess how much they raised without any products and 13 staff? $2 billion. $2 billion with a B dollars. Why? Blockchain. Have a blockchain. It's fine. Don't worry. We'll put it on blockchain. $2 billion, ladies and gentlemen. This market is overhyped, and I have yet to see the amount of use cases that determines a $2 billion valuation with a company of no products. That is accurate. Thank you. I cede the floor.
I now would like to call on the Defense Council to make their closing statements. You
About
have 5
time.
minutes. Sit down or go into the block.
Thank you, my lord. Thank you, my lord.
Whoop his ass.
All I can say, my lord, and members of the jury, is that my exuberant colleague from across the pond has learned some extremely strange techniques in court. He has sought to conflate various ideas around Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and crypto ledgers ICOs that aren't relevant to this case before us today.
I
Hear,
object.
hear.
That's wrong.
What we are talking about is not Bitcoin. It is not an ICO. What we are talking about is the use of blockchain and DLT technology for use in insurance. It is our case, my lord, and members of the jury, that if we accept that we rely on the internet to make information universally available across a network, then the cryptography in the blockchain validates that information and makes that universally reliable. And that is what is at the heart of this case, because we are able to share data across a network, across our value chain. We don't need to do it in reams of paper, Excel spreadsheets, and multiple manual rekeying.
No one likes paper.
And I submit, my lord, that the InsureWave example that Mr. Hennenberg graciously took us through today shows that blockchain is not just a good idea at the end of a rainbow. It is live, it is in production across its entire hull portfolio for Maersk today. There are very heavy, serious stakeholders, and no offense, Mr. Hennenberg, on the heavy remark, you are very tall after all, who are looking at the application of this technology for use in trade and for use in financial services. The truth is, blockchain is secure and it is immutable. The lesson, if anything, to be learned, and to respond to my learned colleagues' somewhat imaginative remarks, is that pick your partners wisely is a fairly wise thing to do indeed. For InsureWave, it is evident that the partnership with the consortium stakeholders, with GuardTime, who are known for their cryptography and defending against nation-state attacks, is a good partner to have. Microsoft, through whom data is shared across their Azure platform and known globally for having the best security in its cloud services, is a good partner to have. Working with industry heavyweights such as EY and the other titans of the insurance industry, MS Amlin, XL Catlin, and Willis Towers Watson are good partners to have. They are all looking at this very seriously. And it is not only InsureWave where the industry is taking blockchain, is looking at blockchain very closely. B3I, the juggernaut consortium represented by the colossal combination of Swiss Re, Allianz, Munich Re, SCOR, and multiple others, you may all be in the room, also think that blockchain is a game changer for insurance. And they predict that at least 30% of cost will be taken out through the application of this technology in reinsurance. And also, let me quote some numbers to you, just to put some heft behind how serious people think this is. Fitch, one of the big three rating agencies, have publicly said earlier this year that it thinks blockchain is a game-changing technology and that the insurance industry is ripe for disruption. Furthermore, it is estimated that at least $1.3 billion will have been invested in blockchain in 2018 alone, and that number is only growing. So to all of you who say it is hype, may I remind you that this is not the dot-com boom, as my learned colleagues sought to say, where all you had to do was put .com after your name to become a millionaire. The rate of exponential change that emergent technology is bringing to our industry is a game changer for us. And if I can quote Bill Perroni, the CEO of Accord, the industry data standards body, is that you cannot underestimate how short the latency period is from innovation to implementation. We don't have 30 years to get this right. Fitch predict we have 3 to 5 years. That is not hype, my lord and members of the jury. That is hardcore facts. Adoption of blockchain-based solutions is helping to solve some of the bigger industry challenges, and we have given to you today fact-witness evidence that shows this in the marine sector. It is driving value for our clients, and we have heard the testimony of Mr. Hennenberg, who is very vehement that this is what he is expecting to see from his insurance providers. And as we have seen and I hope prove to you, ladies and gentlemen, it is not hype, it is real, and it is now. Thank you, my lord.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you now have heard the arguments for and against the question, is blockchain overhyped? It is up to you to determine if the case presented to you by the prosecution is sufficiently strong enough to find the defendant guilty. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, please all rise. If you believe blockchain is overhyped, please sit down now. All rise again, please. Do you believe blockchain has a part to play in the insurance industry future? Stay standing. If no, please sit down.
I knew I was right.
Thank you. You're excused.